Because essentially, all you're doing is punishing them for not knowing how to do something that you didn't teach them. Kids are not born with emotional skills. They don't come into this world knowing how to regulate themselves. They don't know how to communicate clearly or pause before reacting or make thoughtful decisions when they're feeling overwhelmed. Why? Because all of that is learned behavior, and not just learned in theory, but learned in real time from the people who are responsible for raising them, from what they see, what they experience, and how we respond when things go left. So when a child has a really big reaction, when they yell or shut down, ignore you, act out, have full blown tantrums, we tend to jump straight to, how do I stop this? But essentially, that's like the wrong question. A better question is, what skills are missing in this moment? Because behavior isn't just random, it's communication. Even when it's loud, even when it's messy, even when it shows up at the absolute worst time, it's telling you something about what that child doesn't know how to do yet. And here's where things get a little uncomfortable. Parents like to punish their kids when they act up like this. But what they don't understand is that punishment is designed to stop behavior, to stop habits. That's its whole job description. It says that this is not acceptable, don't do it again. And I'm sure sometimes that works. The behavior stops, the moment ends, the house gets quiet again, and it feels like you were victorious in the moment. But let's be honest for a second. Simply stopping the behavior is not the same thing as teaching them a skill, teaching them not to do it again. If a child doesn't know how to regulate their emotions and your response is to go straight to punishment, what exactly are they learning? Because they didn't learn how to calm themselves down. They didn't learn how to express their frustrations in a healthy way. They didn't learn how to handle that situation any differently the next time. What they learned is, this gets me in trouble, and that's it. And once that happens, the focus begins to shift. It's no longer, how do I handle this better? It becomes, how do I avoid getting in trouble for this the next time? One builds emotional intelligence, while the other builds and teaches avoidance. And those are two very different outcomes. And this is where we have to understand the difference between correction and coaching. Correction says, stop doing that. Whereas coaching says, here's what you do instead. Correction focuses on the behavior, while coaching focuses on the learned skills. And if all a child ever gets is correction, they're being told what not to do without ever being showed what to do. So then what happens after that? The same behavior is going to show up again and again and again and again. And now it starts to feel personal. It feels like distance. It feels like, well, they're just not listening to me. Like they know better than I do as the parent. But the truth is, you can't do better if you don't know how. And a lot of parenting frustration lives right there in that space. We expect kids to apply skills that they've never actually been taught. We expect regulation without modeling it, communication without teaching it, self control in moments where even adults are one inconvenience away from losing their shit. And then when kids fall short, we punish the outcome. But emotional regulation isn't something that you can demand. It is something that you need to demonstrate over and over and over again. That way, your child learns how to handle their emotions by watching how you handle yours. And when they're overwhelmed and you escalate, they learn that big emotions get met with bigger reactions. But when they're dysregulated and you stay grounded, they learn something powerful. And that's it's possible to come back to your center. That is called co regulation. That's real time teaching. Now, let's not pretend that it's easy because it's not. Sometimes your child is going to test every ounce of patience that you have. Sometimes you're going to be tired, you're going to be overstimulated, and just want the behavior to stop immediately. And I get it. But there's a trade off here. You can stop the behavior, or you can teach them why that behavior is negative and that they shouldn't do it again. And if you constantly choose stopping over teaching, you're going to keep seeing that same behavior repeat itself because the root has never been addressed. So let's make this practical. A child yells when they're frustrated. Punishment says, don't yell, go sit in the corner. Skill building says, here's what you can do when you feel overwhelmed. Take a deep breath, use your words, ask for space, and then you practice that with them. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Because skills don't just stick through expectation, they stick through repetition. Another example, your child ignores instructions. Punishment says you're in trouble for not listening, whereas skill building pauses and asks, are they overwhelmed, distracted? Do they need clearer directions? Then you adjust. That's the shift from reacting to being intentional. And something else that people don't talk about enough is when a child repeats a behavior. It's not always because they don't care or they're hard headed. A lot of the time, it's because they don't have a replacement. You took away the behavior, but you didn't give them an alternative. So when that same situation shows up again, they reach for what they know. And now you're stuck in a loop. That's why some behaviors feel like they've got a full time job. They keep clocking in, no days off over